Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Homefront Harmony. I'm very excited to be here today. Our guest today is Mr. Bill Gaylord. Very happy to have him join me. I actually met him through my husband and the work he does, and excited to have him here. Bill, why don't you just give our audience a little idea of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm an originator, so I am a mortgage originator. I do loans for people trying to buy a house. And one of the things that I really have found is that education has been a very, very difficult thing for many people to really understand and comprehend how they actually go buy a home, particularly in the military.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will say that one of the biggest struggles that I have heard from a lot of military families is one, the actual comprehension that they can own their own home. It seems like it's such an insurmountable mountain to climb. Understanding the VA loan process to it, it comes across as being far more complicated than it actually is. And so that's a big area for us.
Yeah, and the government has actually made it easier and easier to get a VA loan. It's just they've changed things. They've changed loan amounts that people can get. There's no limit. So it's a lot easier now to get a VA loan than it was in the past.
That's awesome. So can you kind of give us a little quick snapshot, maybe 5 key points or something? A military family is going to purchase a home using a VA loan, stuff that they would need to know that would be beneficial for them.
Yeah, just know that they need to get together the documents that they have, how much eligibility they have they used it in the past, or is this a first time use that they're going to use it? Really, it's the most incredible and well-earned benefit for people that are in the military. And it's probably, in my opinion, the best benefit that they have with it. A lot of them are not utilizing it, and they don't know how to utilize it.
Yeah.
And part of it is the education. They just don't understand it.
Absolutely. I know my parents, the house that they own now was a VA loan. They've purchased a few houses throughout their life, but this one was their VA loan as well, and it did help simplify the process. So you brought up eligibility. Mm-hmm. Let's discuss that a little further, because I think that is an area that seems intimidating, and it shouldn't be.
No, it's pretty much if you've served in the military for 90 days, active duty, you will have your military VA home loan eligibility. So it's pretty simple. There are some people that are maritime,
okay,
and so they have other qualifications. There are others that may have been in the reserves but
okay,
not served, so they can get it over a longer period of time. Okay. So, but it's the most incredible loan out there. Interest rates are lower than anybody. There's no mortgage insurance to it. The qualification standards, it's credit is not as difficult. There's actually no credit score requirement.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty incredible, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just trying to put that puzzle together, but letting them know how to get that puzzle together.
Gotcha.
I kind of call it a 3-legged stool, like
okay,
anything else. A mortgage is basically CIA, credit, income, and assets.
Okay.
And you need those 3 things to get a mortgage. And sometimes we look at, a 3-legged stool, you need all 3 legs for it to stand right. Mm-hmm. If one leg's shorter than the other, it gets a little wonky and a little wobbly, right?
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is just make sure we understand their situation so that it's a nice, solid financial stool.
Okay. And that was credit, income,
assets.
Not Central Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, but it's kind
Noted.
of that way,
okay.
right?
All right.
CIA analysis is what we do.
CIA, I love it. Now, I know that some people get confused about the amount they can qualify for. Mm-hmm. And there are limitations, but it's based mainly on your income itself. So can you discuss that a little further?
Yeah, it's a great question. Typically, what we will do in regards to qualifying people is we take what's called a debt-to-income ratio.
Okay.
And it's a simple equation where, let's say somebody makes $6,000 a month. Okay. We can multiply that by about 50% on VA. And so that's $3,000 a month.
Okay.
And then what we would do is if they have like a car loan or a credit card payment, we deduct that from the $3,000
Okay.
to come up with what I call a max mortgage payment.
Okay.
And then we essentially simply, use the calculator to convert it into the amount of money that they could actually borrow.
Outstanding. So if they were to pursue a VA loan and they were making very, very good money, is there a cap as to how much
No.
VA will qualify them for?
VA, I'm actually doing one now that's just over $1 million and no money down. 0% down. We've done some in the past that are over $2 million.
Holy cow. Okay.
No money down.
Okay.
No mortgage insurance. It's amazing.
The no money down.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the baby right there with that one for me. Now I find that, especially like when my sister and I grew up, my parents knew how to handle finances and stuff. They tried to guide us somewhat to it, but we really, when we grew up and we got out of the world, understanding finances was kind of an undertaking.
Yes.
And I think that it would be such a benefit if all military families, it does not just the veteran, the spouse, et cetera, the children as well, if they could understand the value of investing, because I know that real estate is still really a good investment to partake in, and it's stepping stones,
Yes.
basically, to grow your portfolio.
Right.
So give me an idea, like how would you guide someone,
So if someone is first getting into the military, right, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go out and buy a big fancy car. And they're going to just have their debt to income ratio just knocked way down.
Gotcha.
So I would love to see them when they go into the military
Yes.
prior to like having money, if you will.
Yes.
Getting them to understand what else is out there and that they can go buy a house. And a lot of them right now, because property values have gone up in value quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So you hear about affordability. It's an issue. It's a problem. Well, new members going into the military can actually buy with a friend, combine their what's called BAH, Basic Allowance for Housing, which is a housing stipend that they get on a monthly basis, and buy the house together.
Yeah.
Or they could rent a room if they wanted to. Because when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you don't really, you're not necessarily interested in settling down,
Right.
if you will. So having a roommate or someone to go in on it with you, it's not a bad way to go.
No, it's not. And I think it's a big thing for them to understand BAH. We were actually discussing this with my previous guest, Levi, about how he pursued on that, because I don't think a lot of military people understand they have a BAH. And I think that with that thought process, with the investing in the building, it shows, your family, your children, how they can move and take from there to build their own. Because it's true. It's shameless plug. My husband, LVM Realty, Jim Dahl, give him a call. Anyway, he's phenomenal in the way he talks about the stepping stones, how you build up. Okay, so maybe the first one's a condo because that's what you can afford.
Right.
But then as you build up with it, if you're looking to move into a house, when you sell that, then you take the funds, the profits from that can lead you into another. It's not as daunting, I think, when you look at it that way.
No, it is one step at a time. It doesn't have to happen. A lot of people are really tied up and caught up in, I want investment properties and I want this and I want to build this and I want to have this many doors and all that. But getting into your first home to get some experience, to understand how it works, that gives you it. Home buyers, or homeowners, I should say, are much more financially savvy than renters. And the reason is when they go buy a house, number one, they have to go into all the qualifications and they understand it. But then all of a sudden they're a homeowner.
Yeah.
So they got to figure out how to pay for it and how to really better manage their money.
Yeah.
And so they become more financially savvy. They look at potentially saving. They look at maybe life insurance now, that kind of thing. So they are just better qualified people. That allows them to get to the next step, right? And go into the next property, whether it's selling and taking those proceeds and buying a bigger home or potentially even keeping that one as a rental.
Yeah.
and moving into a different home. So
Yeah.
it's just step at a time.
Absolutely. My first home that I bought is how my husband and I ended up connecting on a deeper level. And he's the one who sold it for me as well when we bought our first house together. And we did that, we discussed the renting,
Yeah.
but we decided to sell it and just have the fresh start, the two of us in our new home kind of area to it. But I think that one of the points you brought up, which was really critical and key, I think is the understanding of the monthly finances of when you want to own a home, when you want to go there. Okay, maybe you're the child of a veteran and you didn't have that military paycheck coming in monthly, but your job, you will have a steady paycheck coming, and understanding how to utilize that to be able to have that home and still have that freedom. It's an area that I think it comes out grayish to some people. They don't understand it's not actually as scary as it looks like when you're looking in there and you're breaking it down.
No, there's benefits for particularly the newer members. A lot of the ones that have been there 3-4 years move off and go into an apartment or maybe even a home. But the ones that are there, they're living on base housing and their income is pretty small.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
If they move off housing, whether it's rental or buying a home, they get that BAH, the basic allowance for housing. So it is cash to them. It is not taxed. It is, so we can actually gross it up as more income. But they really just have to, like, if they go rent a property with a friend that has a BAH, they can split it and actually pocket some of that difference in their money, in their monthly payment. So it works out pretty well.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's a pretty awesome thing. I know that, like, especially when you're talking the different areas. So my father was enlisted. As enlisted, he just walked right out the door, went in, signed up, became a Navy man, versus being an officer where you have that college education to come in. That's also going to play with your BAH and where you stand and where you go on it. But I think that one of the beauties of it is, like, for our position, my dad was supply. So we moved every 2 years. And we went a lot of really cool places, which was so awesome. Please understand, I love that aspect of my father's career. I've been to Australia, twice. But when we came back stateside, and we were getting to the point he was transitioning out of service, and he and my mother were looking to buy a house, it was a completely different scenario than when he had, dealt with the BAH while he was in the military on it. And I think that one key is the trust. You need to find people that you trust to work with that you know. One of the reasons that my husband is very good at his job is because he is a very laid back, easygoing guy.
I love Jim.
I do too.
Jim's awesome.
That's why I married him.
That's why you married him.
I love him.
Yes.
But it's one of those things, and I find that, like, especially talking with you, the very easygoing kind of aspect to it, because I will say that when I bought my first house, it was a very up and down roller coaster. And I am terrified of 3 things in this world, people. I am terrified of bees because I'm allergic to them, scorpions because they freak me out and their venom's the same as bees, bark scorpions, same venom as the bee I'm allergic to, bad. And buying a house because it just stresses me out.
And that's why you have Jim.
That's why, well, he helps a lot with it. It makes him laugh a little bit how, like, I get with it. But I think that a lot of people do that. I don't know. Have you run into that a lot with when you're working with people and they're just kind of like,
It's anxiety. I mean, it's usually the biggest purchase of their life, right? And they're trying to figure out, can I afford it? Can I make the payment? What do I need? Am I going to have any money left over? Am I going to have reserves? So there's a lot of just trying to get understanding. And when you don't know what you don't know, it's way more difficult to make a decision.
Gotcha.
So it's trying to get people from point A to point B where they're educated, they understand. And so it's important to go through all the numbers with them.
Now, if somebody is going through with you to get a mortgage loan, do you advise them in any way, like, okay, when we sign off on the loan and everything, you want to have at least this much money in your savings or checking account, or guide them like that?
Yeah. So my goal is to show them what they can afford to spend.
Okay.
So when I say afford to spend, I mean, what is their max purchase price?
Okay.
Not to say that, like, I'm always like, that may not be what you want to pay. I would look at your own personal budget and what you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Okay. And then what we do is we look at scenarios in regards to what that, comfortable mortgage payment will look like in terms of a house price. So if they want $2,500 a month, it could be like a $350,000 home.
Okay.
If it's $3,500 a month, it could be around a $500,000 home.
Gotcha.
So they just have to make that decision. And then, and if they're struggling with it, I give them my opinions in regards to you're kind of stretching it, or you may want to back it down just a little bit, because the last thing you want to do is get into a house and not be able to really enjoy it.
Understood.
And so I give them that advice.
Okay, now here's going to be a toughie for you. I always bring this up because we recently went through this. So we lost my dad in October of 21, and my mother had to get a whole bunch of stuff flipped over into her name to deal with some items and everything. Can you give a little, just not necessarily a highlight or guidance, but just kind of relieve some headache for some people about what they would honestly have to deal with if they did lose their spouse on their mortgage, et cetera?
Yeah, typically it partly depends on whether or not they were on the mortgage together. If they were on the mortgage together, it's a pretty simple, it's just transferring it over. Okay. And as long as all the payments have been made on time, it's no problem.
Okay.
And honestly, I would say that, if they're not on the mortgage, it just depends. Yeah, I mean, there's ways to get around it a little bit.
Okay.
But it's just trying to figure out what the mortgage company will want.
Okay, so see, lesson learned, people. It doesn't matter the scenario. We can find a solution to the problem. We got to have the discussion so we can fix it. This is why we talk about stuff like this. This is why we want to share this with you guys, so so it helps you. There is nothing fun about flying blind. Nothing. All right, so what got you into the mortgage world?
Well, I was a commercial real estate appraiser for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And I would go home, I'd have lunch, look out my window, and I'd see this guy walking out his front door in tennis shorts at noon. And I was like, okay, when I grow up, I want to be like him.
I love it.
And so anyways, I asked him what he did. He says he was a mortgage broker. And so I said, okay, I'm going to become a mortgage broker. Okay. And so I did, but I didn't ever have the opportunity to walk out of my front door in my tennis shorts. So 31 years later, here I am doing mortgage.
There you go. I love it.
And it's awesome. I love it because I can really help people. Because a lot of people just need their hand held a little bit to understand what they're getting into.
Absolutely. And I will say this on behalf of Bill. It does not matter if you are a veteran with a VA loan, if you are active duty transitioning out, if you are a spouse, if you are a child of a veteran or military member and you are looking to buy a house, there is a mortgage loan for you. Okay? It can be found. It can be done. I thought... when I never cared about buying a home. I was very good at the nomad life from the military. I was comfortable with it. And I happened to be renting a home that the owners wanted to put for sale. And I didn't want to lose the home I was in. I liked it. And that's the only reason I ended up buying it. And what's funny is once I bought it, then I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. All right, I own a house. Okay. That's cool. I can do whatever I want to this house without anybody telling me I can't do that. I could paint the inside of the living room blue if I wanted to. Yay! And it was just a different dynamic feel for it when it was set up. And I think that one of my favorite things, I'm a big person on focusing on the positive of a situation and finding what's good about it and where to go with it. And I like that you favor in that area as well, because you have to, when you're making an investment like this, when you're buying a home, it has to be more than just the fact that I'm going to buy a house.
Yeah.
Because it's real estate. You know?
I look at it at my job. Yes, I do pre-approvals. I get people ready to go. My job, in my opinion, is to actually get them excited to buy a house. And because nobody wants a mortgage. Who wants a mortgage, right? So it's really trying to find out what they are looking for in the house and what benefits come from it.
Yeah.
And so just trying to promote that.
Well, and that's so true because it's just like when you buy a car. You're not looking for the car payment. You just saw the pretty car and you wanted the car.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I fall for that. I am one of those women who can go, oh, that's a pretty car.
You just bought a new one.
I did just buy a new car.
I thought I saw that.
And I literally had no interest, was going for my husband, walked in the door and went, oh, mama. And my husband was like, okay, we're negotiating 2 deals today.
Here we go.
But it's true. You don't think about, I want a mortgage payment. You want the house. You want the car. You want that physical aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so.
And there's so many benefits to buying a house. And a lot of it, people go, oh, it's really expensive on the mortgage payment right now. Well, more likely than not, rates will at some point come down in life. So your actual payment will go down. How many rental payments have gone down?
Right.
Like never.
None.
It's
Yeah,
like
ever.
never. So this goes up and your mortgage payment could come down. So a lot of it is just over time, your house payment is going to be less than rent.
And for me, I've had so many military families that I've spoken with, and spouses will talk about the fact that, they're renting the house, their spouse gets deployed, and they're dealing with this house, and the landlord's like, oh, I'm going to hike up the rent on you and everything, and do this. And they're like, but we're good tenants, and right now we haven't had an increase, and I think, well, then that's why you're perfect for you to become a person who has real estate property, for you to be the person renting the property to someone else. Remember those aspects of what you lived through so that you can, do that for others.
They can potentially become the landlord.
Right.
So
exactly.
if they move to the next duty station, if they want to keep it, they keep it and they rent it to another military family that has that in there.
Absolutely.
And they buy one in the next duty station.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think there's so many ways to be able to make this work for you. And I think that's the biggest thing. Every scenario and situation is different. I bet you can guarantee me you have never had identical transactions ever.
It's impossible. I would say, so there's a lot of fear. So people have fear. They're fearful of really making the right decision. And then sometimes it's just fear of making a first call, just to understand. So if they can find somebody that they trust, a mentor or somebody that is a family member that they can get with a mortgage person or a financial planner, just getting that conversation started is key.
Yeah, it really
not
is.
Ignoring it. Some people ignore it. And when you ignore it, you got credit issues and there's a lot of things that can happen. So it's taking action and making it happen.
Well, and the community, the military community itself, it's like I tell people, it doesn't matter where I go, as soon as they find out I'm the daughter of a veteran, I automatically have instant family. And I love that aspect of it. And I think that's so great. And I think sometimes the word of mouth of referral systems in that community, people forget that these are one of those questions. I'm looking for a mortgage person. I'm interested in maybe buying a house. I need some guidance from someone. Go to someone who's been through it themselves, who maybe, has a similar scenario, has that. It just helps so much more.
It helps.
Yeah, it's a great guide to have to it, because I think that finances are always going to be an emotional subject.
Very.
They just are. It doesn't matter what you do. They just are. It just is how it works. So when you can allow yourself to have that comfort, to have a referral to someone where it's like in sales, there's a cold call and a warm call. If you're referred to this person, you're going to be a little more comfortable talking to them.
Yep.
And you have to be comfortable talking to them.
You have to be comfortable because you're spilling your guts.
Right.
You're spilling all your dirty laundry, if you will.
Yep.
And it's just, you want to be able to trust the person that you're talking to. And that's a big key.
It is.
Because it is everything.
It is. It is. What are some recommendations you have for people if they are going, maybe I do need to look at purchasing my first home? Financial wise, some things they need to make sure that they have set up and in a row, or maybe they need to start working on so that they can better,
Yeah, we call it the game plan. Okay. So it is, we have a 90-day game plan, but it could be a 15-day game plan. It could be a 2-year game plan. Okay. But it's basically trying to understand where you are today.
Okay.
Where do you stand? What is your income level? How much money do you have for down payment or closing costs on the VA? It's zero down, but you still have closing costs. And then the third thing is basically just making sure that if you have to get there, what do you do to hold yourself accountable to get there? If you need to save $6,000, what's it going to take to get the $6,000? So, and then just having that plan together. Then once they go, I've had many conversations where the client goes, "Oh, I only need that?
Yeah.
Oh, I could have done this a long time ago."
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just that unknown, but they never made the call.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I remember that when I was buying mine, when I was told the down payment, I'm like, oh, that's it? Oh, I don't know why I thought to have all this money,
Maybe I don't need to buy a car right now. I can buy it after I buy the house. Yeah.
And I will tell you all, when I bought my first home, my credit was not perfect, okay? So please understand, it's okay.
And a lot of people too, that's a really good point, because credit is very sensitive subject to a lot of people.
Yes.
They take pride in their 3-digit number, the FICO score. And so they talk to me and they go, "I'm cleaning up my credit right now.
Right.
I'm paying this off and I'm paying this off. And this is a collection that I had." And I'm like, stop. Don't do that. Because a lot of times you can correct it without a huge outlay. So it's just really understanding. And then they may take, going back to my 3-legged stool, they may take from assets that they needed for the down payment or for the closing costs. So it's just really getting a game plan together.
Absolutely. And I think that brings the trust thing's going to keep coming around with me, people, okay? Because that's where I am. My dad's a veteran. You automatically give me a level of trust. I love you because you're a military person. You automatically get a level of trust. It's the same thing in these conversations. And that is why I call it a team, because it is everything. It is the realtor you're working with. It is the mortgage person you're working with. It is that whole dynamic that leads up to it. The title person. It's a team. They talk, it's a village to get you in your home, but you want to trust that. You want to trust that what you're working with, where you're at, what you're doing. Because it's funny, whenever I sign contracts for something, I actually read them. Call me silly. I'm in security.
Okay.
I read stuff. When we bought the car the other day, the guy was like, "Hey, you just sign right there." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I actually read documents." My husband just nodded his head next to me. Like, unless I'm with him and I know he knows the document and is just going like, "It's cool."
Yeah.
I'm going to read it. It helps me to know better what I'm doing, what I'm signing over, where I'm going, what I'm having. I trust them because I'm buying the vehicle from them, but I still want to know more.
Yep.
Now, you cracked me up when you said so many people, when they first get in the military, the first thing they do is buy a car. Let's face it, people, it's not just when you get in the military. When you start making money, the first thing you want to do is have a cool, fancy car, okay?
Who doesn't?
A little bit of a car girl. But it would amaze me, so I'm showing my age here, just bear with me, but many of my father's newbie guys that would come in and work under him, Trans Am. I have seen so many Trans Ams. Yeah. I have seen so many Bandit, take you back in the day. Many of them had them look like Bandit. But that was their victory. Yes. This is what I'm doing thing.
They're proud of it.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not a bad thing to be proud of that.
No.
Just, align your goals of how you want to reach them. Strategically plan out where you want to go.
But what we want them to do is be proud of their house and have everybody drive up in a Trans Am. So they can party in the backyard at the one's house. So that's very proud. That's making it happen.
I like it. And it was an interesting thing when I did not go into the military. I thought I would. I did not. And when I started making money, actually having to think about what I was going to do with it. like when I was a kid, and my poor dad, we gave him and my mom such a hard time. But if I had $25 in the bank, I'd be very excited. I'd go over to the bank on the base. I would close out the account because I wanted the $25, and I would have them give it to me in all ones because then my wallet was thick.
It felt good. You had
And
a lot
I
of money
was
there.
rich. And my parents would be like, please quit closing out the account. Don't do that. Stop. Please stop. There's a whole, so it didn't quite connect with me,
Yeah.
you know, and then as I got older, I realized, okay, some stuff is making more sense to me now. Because you just think, cool, I have money, let's go.
Yeah.
Party, you know, and
Well, funny story right now. My dad was actually Diver Dan.
Okay.
So he had the helmet and he was down and he was detonating or basically making sure that the bombs on the mines on the seafloor didn't blow up.
Diver Dan was awesome.
Diver Dan. Okay. That was a long time ago. People may not know who Diver Dan is. Fast forward, my daughter, 19, just got into the military at the beginning of the year. And so we went through that whole process. She's Navy as well. And so she had to study for it. She went through it. And there was not a lot of options for some, young people. And this was a really good option for her. And so then went up to Illinois for boot camp. We went up there to watch her graduate from boot camp. And then she got shipped off. And you know where she got shipped off?
Where?
Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Bad spot. So she gets to enjoy Hawaii every single day and jumping off cliffs and all that good stuff. I know it's terrible. But she is like, we're going to have Daddy 101 finance because she's, going out, she's spending her money at the next. She's doing all the fun things that young people do. So we're going to reel her in a little bit to just start planning and all that. But it's been a really great experience for her. So I definitely attached to the Navy, to the military. To just my job has been, I helped so many military families.
How many military families do you think you've helped?
Oh, thousands.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's been just, an honor because I have so much passion for them. And I want them to have that ownership and build wealth. And a lot of them don't know how to do it. And so getting into that house is a first step.
And, a couple of things from what you said. First of all, now that your family's Navy, I love you. Just a little more than I did before. Because, Navy families, special in the heart there. And two, you know what? Some people might not know who Diver Dan is. And what's your daughter's name?
Grace.
And they might not know who Grace is. And they might not know who Chief Stephen D. George was. But we're going to let them know. We're going to share about them. And then they're going to know about you too. And then we're going to get to the point where everybody knows the military families. And it's not just the military community. We're all together and we're all helping each other and we're all united. And we are going to do that because I am doing this for Dean. I'm doing it for my daddy. I am doing it for every military person I have ever met in my life. And I love that you're able to help them with the purchase of the home. I think that's phenomenal and huge. And I think that the more we can educate them on how the loans work, how the VA loans work, how they work if you don't have a VA loan and you're, the military child trying to figure out your path of where you want to go. It's not a guarantee that a child, you and I are both children of veterans and neither of us ended up in the service. My sister didn't go in either. So you never know the path they're going to take, but that doesn't mean that we can't guide them and help get them the information they need. Because sometimes when you're living in that military life on the base, it's a whole different world, people. It was my own special world. I knew my whole life, as soon as I crossed that line, walked off the base, I was off of U.S. soil. I was all of a sudden in whatever country we were in, wherever we were at. It's such a different mindset to deal with it and the way it helps you. And, so I think it's key to be able to help them see there are ways to create these strategic plans. There are steps that you can take to do this. Yes, this is something you can actually do. So I think that's phenomenal on that. I really, really appreciate you joining us today, Bill. I'm going to have you back because that's what I do.
All right, Stevie, I'll be back.
I like
and thank
bringing
you
my
for having
investments.
me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking to you next time. We'll probably talk a little more focused on military spouses and delve into that realm of the world. But thank you again for being here. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, everybody, this is the end of today's show. You know what you need to do. You need to like, you need to follow, you need to subscribe, you need to find us wherever we are. We're everywhere. Come find me. Help us. If you want us to discuss a specific topic, reach out and let us know. We want to know what you want to hear about. We want to make sure we get you the information that you need. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you next time on Homefront Harmony. Bye.
Bye.